Blue Jays fans, breathe a sigh of relief. You were scared. I know you were. We were linked to all of these names. We saw them go. Liam Hendricks, Francisco Lindor. We saw all those names head somewhere else. They even said the Mets were going to get George Springer. Well, looks like they were wrong. 6 years, 150 million, and it's worth every penny because George Springer is a Blue Jay. Matt, tell us your thoughts.
Okay. So real time. This found out in real time. I also want to say that Joey had it first because he said it before we stopped recording. As you guys will hear once we get through the episode. I just want to say that I think we all owe Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro an apology.
Well, just for context, we are recording the day after because we recorded a regular episode only 10 minutes after we ended recording. The George Springer news broke.
Yeah. So let me start by saying I'm sorry to Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro. And you know the old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. I think that applies to Jays fans now because like we thought this was going to happen last year and then Hinge and Ryu happened. We thought it was happening again this year and then George Springer happens. So yeah, I think it just goes without saying, don't count your chickens before they hatch and don't go off and assume that things are going to happen until they happen. Um, it was a crazy couple hours for people that were on Twitter. They know what I'm talking about. When we finally saw the passing tweet, we knew, and everyone lost their freaking minds.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that kind of goes without saying. So we also thought during our show that Michael Brantley signed, but he also re-upped with the Astros. We'll
Well,
talk about
a
that.
report came out like confirming that, oh yeah, he's with the Blue Jays. And it's like, oh wait, never mind.
It's like news to me,
Which
but
tells me that the Blue Jays are still aggressively pursuing free agents, which makes me excited.
yeah, but who knows? Because you can always use the business strategy of trying to make it a bidding war and using certain sides for leverage. But we don't know. All we know is we got arguably the best fish that's left in the pond, or probably top two. I think Bauer's still number one, but Springer
Yeah.
consistently has always been number one. And to leave it with this, because we don't want to take it away from the actual episode, George Springer's numbers from the sky, from playing in the Rogers Center Sky Dome, whatever the hell you want to call it, 353. I don't know the. Oh, hold on, wait. I want to see. Uh, Joey and I sent it twice
We did.
because he he doesn't like being original. So,
We're just too hyped, man.
so he hits 358, 453, and 604 in 15 games at the Rogers Center. So you better pray to God that we go back there in the fall
Oh
or
God.
in spring.
I think I I don't know if I said this to you or one of my other friends, but I was like, man, if we were allowed in the Rogers Center, I would have already bought my home opener tickets.
Yeah. I posted how I wanted to go and camp in there for the next 3 months. Just watching Springer taking batting practice with Vladdy and Gurriel and all the fun boys.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we there's still a lot more to do. Buckle up. We're in for a ride.
Well, speaking of which, we can get onto that topic now that we know that they have the big fish. It makes it easier to kind of blueprint what is left to do, which to me is you missed out on Brantley, which is whatever. That would have been like gravy, but to be honest, it's fine. And then if we just can get another starting arm or two, I think they can get two realistically.
Well,
But
there's going to be some moves I think that are going to happen within the couple within the coming days and coming weeks. We're going to see some traction start to pick up.
mhm.
So we're definitely going to see that.
So yeah, so with that, um, what is there left to do for you? Like, what do you think is left to do for the Jays? What's realistic? Because I
Number one,
know I have my theory, which I will share, but I'll let you go first.
get an arm. That makes the most sense. Number two, probably trade one of your outfielders, probably Grichuk, I think is the likely candidate. Three, figure out third base because every other position I think is spoken for.
I think they're going to
And
put Vlad back at third, but that's just what I
I'm
think.
not sure how that's gonna work. Also, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. I had a thought and I lost it. And I'm losing my brain power. Um, I I had something. Oh, maybe another reliever, which we're told maybe Brad Hand might be the guy, which I would be more than happy with, especially with Kirby Yates and Chatwood in the ranks. So
Mhm.
if you get at least two of those, if you get at least a pitcher and maybe another arm in the bullpen, I'll be happy. I think the third base situation is kind of minor just because they have a lot of guys they can really use. And also like there's a lot of utility guys they can sign. So like it's a lot better than
At this
before.
point, with the way the lineup is, it's just like who cares? Put you can put anyone there.
Yeah, we can figure it out.
Put any like
Uh
replacement level player there.
yeah. So you can go ahead and say your theory then, see if our theories match up. They probably do, but
For me, I want this team to go all out when it goes to the starting rotation. I think their bullpen is good. I don't think they really got to do much to it. Maybe a minor thing here, but if they don't do anything to it, I like it the way it is. To me, their position players are all fine. You could put Vladdy at third for me. I don't care. That works for me. And so that leads to the rotation. And I would like to see, in a perfect world, you flip one of Grichek or Gurriel Jr. No, wait, I don't even think you need to touch them. I think you can keep both of them because I think you can sign either Taijuan Walker, Jake Odorizzi, or Jamison Paxton. And I don't think they'll necessarily break the bank. I think you can sign one of them as your number two or three, and then as your other two or three, depending on how you want to do it. I think the Reds make good trade partners.
yeah, I
I
was
think you can get Sonny Gray from them or Luis Castillo, and the Blue Jays are. Sorry, I'm just looking something up quickly. And the Blue Jays have what the Reds need, which is the Reds are looking for their shortstop of the future. And we have that in Jordan Grossens. So I'm
yeah,
thinking you give them that. Maybe you throw in another prospect too, like that they'll want, like outside of their top 15. You can like, and then we'll see how it goes. But
for
I think
sure.
I think you can create a package around Jordan Grossens, sent to the Reds, and you can get either Sonny Gray or Luis Castillo coming north of the border.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that we can see. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like again, like the off season's gonna start ramping up because like spring training's in less than a month. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it starts end of February. That's
Yeah,
if they have their. I don't know. Have they?
I mean, who knows what's gonna happen between now and like the point.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be fun. I tweeted this out yesterday in my adrenaline-filled excitement about the Blue Jays signing Springer. I was like, does this make the Blue Jays a more attractive destination for Trevor Bauer? I think we can write that one off because it's Rogers. I don't think they'll they'll spend that much money in a single off season.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't really know what's gonna happen between now and the end of the off season, but I'm sure we'll see something.
Mm-hmm. All
But
right.
yeah, that's all for here, and I guess just enjoy the rest of the show. Okay, Welcome back to the Queen City Roundup. I have no beard. I feel naked. Um, every single person that looks at me after I shave kind of loses respect for me. So whoever watches this is going to be like, "What the
You look
fuck?"
like you lost about 5 years.
Probably, yeah. It's one of the reasons why I don't shave because like I look so young. Like, it's going to benefit me when I'm like in my 60s, but like not now. I feel like I'm 60, but yeah, I don't want to say we have like astronomical news, but we got some talking points. The last time we recorded, which was last Tuesday, hockey came back. And a lot has happened.
We
And
haven't. We weren't able to actually talk about hockey yet. On Tuesday, like talk about
we,
actual games.
yeah, we were just basically talking about like fictitious what ifs.
Hmm.
Um, but already in 4 games, we have felt all the cornucopia of emotions being a Leaf fan, from wanting Frederick Anderson traded to realizing that he's actually okay, to shitting on Mitch Marner, to Marner scoring 3 goals in the last 2 games. Uh,
Getting
for
upset
Matthews
at
having,
Joe Thornton on the top line, him
and then
scoring.
I think he already has 2 points on that line. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's a circle of life. So like we all predicted, the
And,
Leafs
and doesn't
are
it
the
doesn't Twitter just feel normal again?
yeah. I love how even in the middle of a pandemic, Leafs Twitter is still the most toxic thing I've ever seen in my life.
No,
Um,
no, hold on. If we're doing like a ranking, it would be like anti-maskers and like anti-vaxxers are like on the top, and then just below that, it's just like Leafs Twitter
I don't know. Like I feel like
in terms of comparing it to the pandemic.
did Leafs Twitter blow a 28-3 lead to anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers? I think they
I
did.
think
I
I
think
think
they
I
did.
think I think those guys are always the worst.
Yeah. Um, so what's really funny is the North Division right now is actually, I think, the almost exactly to a T what Joey predicted, except for Ottawa. Yours was, I believe. Okay, wait. I want to say each team in each spot, and I want to see if you remember. So the Leafs are top. That one you
Hmm.
already had. You had the Flames at 2, which they
Yep,
are. Habs are 3, which they are.
I had Habs at 4 and
Okay, so there you're
Edmonton
so you're, so you're
Edmonton
one
at
off there.
3.
Let's say half. Oh, Doctor Edmonton. Let's say like a half point because you were one off. Ottawa at 4. Nobody had that could change
That's
at the
going
end
to
of tonight.
change.
Well, they're winning right now against Winnipeg, so I mean, like,
I mean, Winnipeg's not that great of a team. I had those
uh,
were my bottom two teams.
Edmonton and Vancouver 5 and 6, and then Winnipeg 7. I think we were right with having Winnipeg near the bottom 2, both of us. I think.
Hmm.
Can't remember if I had Winnipeg in the bottom 2 or the bottom 3. Either way, they're in the bottom 3. Um, so what's really funny is if you look at the goals against until last night, the Leafs were actually the worst goals against team. And then you realize that, oh, Vancouver and Edmonton want to have a chat.
Hmm.
So you'd think that Vancouver and or Edmonton would want Aaron Dell, but they got nobody, which was
And
really funny. Well, let me show my Leaf shirt here. Oh, it's kind of crappy. It's because of the way I'm sitting, but whatever.
and those
I'm just gonna bring
Edmonton
it,
men with their
get
goalie
everybody.
issues.
Dude, the fact what was really funny was as you're on Leaf Twitter like I am, we were like, okay, like, 100% he's going to Edmonton by noon.
Oh yeah,
Like
for sure. That's what I
11
thought.
11:59, 11:59, boom, he's going to New Jersey. And we're just like, I mean, it
Yeah,
makes
yeah, yeah, it
sense
makes sense.
because like Crawford retired.
They probably Edmonton probably very likely uh had a claim in for him, but New Jersey was just ahead of him
Yeah,
in the order of
in the
the waiver
pool.
wire.
Yeah, because New Jersey, I think, finished like 28th last year, and like Edmonton made the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Hmm.
Well, technically, the Oilers didn't make the playoffs. Remember that factor.
Hmm.
So before we dive into, well, I don't want to really spend time ripping on the other Canadian teams yet, just because,
So
again,
early.
it's only been 4 games, even though everyone's already had their reservations about 2 of them, being absolute, to quote Jim Nill, plucking horse spit. That's the most PG way I can say that. Interpret it the way you want. Um, but I guess we'll talk about the Leafs first few games.
What's something that has stuck out to you the most? Like any like
Are, are,
differences
are,
in the team?
are we doing positives or negatives first?
Whatever.
Um, I hated the penalty kill the first two games, as you can agree. Um,
Yeah.
the last two were better. Um, I think the power play is still very dominant. I think it has the potential to probably be top two. It's top three right now. I think it could be top two. That's just my take on that. Um, if you were to told me at the beginning of the season that Justin Hall would have as many points as Austin Matthews, I'd probably belly laugh. But here we are, and Justin Hall is going to win the Norris Trophy. Just you
Hmm.
wait. Um, as far as anything else, top line, I don't really have many problems with now that they've like woken up and now they're like, okay, here's how we're really gonna do things. I really like the second line of JT and well, okay, one grievance would for me would be I'd put Mikheyev and VC swap, put VC with Kerfoot, and then have Mikheyev with Tavares and Nylander. Um, but William Nylander is second on the team in scoring, and at one point was actually at the top of the team in scoring. So to
And then
all
John
of you,
Tavares is playing like the best hockey I've seen him play in a Leafs jersey.
yeah, I think it definitely shows.
This is
I
what
think
happens when you grow out your hair.
when you grow out your hair and haven't gone to the barber, like, dude, Justin Hall's flow is bomb. And it's funny because like you look at like these players and like they haven't shaved, they look like they haven't showered. And you look at you and me, we're like, okay, civilized people now. Um, I don't know.
Civilized as I made my bed 10 minutes ago before recording.
You don't want to see my bed in the background, but it is not made. That's why I'm not showing it. I think we all had our heart murmuring a little bit when Jason Spezza went on waivers,
No,
but then he pulled the Uno reverse card of if you claim me, I'm gonna quit,
hmm
or you can't fire me, I
I knew that
quit.
was going to happen. Like that's the thing, right? He said he wasn't going to play unless he got another contract offer from the Leafs.
This kind of reminds me of like really like I feel like Spezza is gonna do what Thornton did in San Jose for years, where he's just gonna keep signing for years and try and get the window in. Um, I honestly feel like realistically, I wouldn't be surprised if Dubas brings the whole team back for like an extra year. Like he just goes to all the guys that are expiring and he's just like, listen, the cap's not going to go up. We want to give you more money, but we're probably not going to be able to afford it. Here's what we could have. And they're probably like, okay. Because like Thornton and Spezza, they made their money, right? Like they already
Yeah.
made their millions of dollars. They're going to go in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Like they're okay with taking bare minimum.
hmm
Um, it's like the only deal, like looking at the top of my head right now, that's really worrying is Zach Hyman, just because Hyman could easily get like 4, maybe 5 million on the open market, and also Wayne Simmons. But like, you could argue that Wayne Drake could take a pay cut if he wants to stay here. Um, but like, yeah, like looking at the Leafs, like okay, the only one actually no, let me take that back. The only two that scare me are Mikko Lehtinen and Travis Dermott, which I wanted to think. I wanted to ask your opinion on this because a lot of people have been saying this. Does Mikko Lehtinen play with Zach Bogosian or Travis Dermott? Like when he officially gets into like in the top six and they don't trust 7D.
I have no idea to be honest.
All right, great. All right, off
Um.
to a good start.
Uh. I'd like to see him. I feel like there's more flexibility with him with Dermott than over Bogosian, just because he has like Dermott has that offensive upside too, where they can like kind of like work with each other there.
Yeah, and I think like especially now with Spezza clearing and going on the taxi squad and with Nick
Mm-hmm.
Robertson gonna be on LTIR for about a month.
Mm-hmm.
That gives them a lot more roster flexibility. I wouldn't be surprised if I mean they added Engvall to their taxi squad, which made sense. I think it's what they really wanted to do. Now they had an excuse to do it. They're probably going to go ahead. I wouldn't be surprised. I was surprised that they didn't play Adam Brooks. I thought they were going to because he, like, is from Winnipeg, but I guess they chose against it. I honestly think that the Leafs' next few games they play. I honestly think against the Oilers, one of the two games against the Oilers, I think we see maybe Rasmus Sandin come into the
I'd
lineup.
like to see Sandine with now what I want to see just for chaos purposes is Sandine with Lettinen.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do. I just have my phone, but whatever. I honestly think we're going to see Sandine play more near the end of the season once the Leafs like clinch, if they clinch, because God knows what'll happen from now. Like I said earlier, we all went from wanting to crucify Frederick Anderson to him being like, oh, he had a good game against Winnipeg. He was dialed in.
Well,
Which, like,
anyways, let's talk about that because at the beginning of the show we said now we actually have hockey to talk about instead of all this what ifs. So let's avoid the what ifs for now and who should play with who. Let's just talk about what happened so far. So yeah, was it Friday night? Everyone wanted Anderson traded. What was your? Don't pretend that they haven't played the Jets yet. What was your reaction to Anderson's play?
well, first of all, I'm assuming that you're saying that they already won on Saturday. So, like, those two games are accounted for. And, like, I'm assuming you
Yeah,
want my thoughts on Sunday night.
yeah. Like, what were your thoughts
Um,
after the game on Saturday?
I mean, it's tough because, like, you look at the schedule and it's like Freddie usually plays the Jets. He's played the Jets well as of recently. I know he had I know year one he really struggled because of course there was the infamous 5-4 overtime loss against the Jets in Winnipeg where
Mm-hmm.
Laine scored the hat trick, and you can tell by my voice it's like fun memories. Um, and then I think last year he struggled a little bit, even though the Leafs completely torched Hellebuck. But in my opinion, one of the better games that Freddie had, I don't know if you remember, it was I think January or February. I think it was early February. This was a couple weeks before the David Ayers game. Uh, Leafs and yeah, right. Zamboni boy. Um, but I don't know if you remember. It was Winnipeg was in town. It was they just tied it late, and then they went to
Oh
OT.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
Freddie, I was expecting one of those performances because that's what he normally did.
You expected
For
that
the most
against
part,
against Ottawa.
yeah, basically. And he always played the Sens really well throughout his career. I don't think he even lost. I think he lost to Ottawa once. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong, but I don't know what it is with Freddie. But especially going back even further than that, going back to home openers, dude, he sucks opening night.
Yeah,
He looks okay. I'm
even the
looking back.
Montreal game, like he just looked
He looked
like
slow.
he looked slow. He was swimming a lot in his crease. He didn't like Freddie's thing has always been like he's always in the right position. He knows what position he needs to be in. And in both of his first games against Montreal and Ottawa, he was just swimming all over the place in the crease, looked out of position, looked just like wasn't absorbing the rebounds like he typically does. It was just a lot of sloppiness from him, which is what made you worry. Like, yeah, whatever, he made the saves, but it doesn't look like he's doing it pretty easily, like what you're used to seeing when he's on the top of his game.
Yeah, and going back to eons of home openers ago, or first games of the season, he led in 5 against Ottawa in his Leaf debut. Um, Following year when they played against Winnipeg, he played better. 2019 when they played against the Habs, he played good. But it's
Well,
almost
it's been
every
it's
time,
always been October though.
yeah, and I
October
guess
Freddie, or first month Freddie, I guess you can say now.
yeah, I saw a stat on I think it was on Sportsnet stats that said he had a subpar an 897 in the month of October, which is horrible. But it even showed we were talking about this on Leafs Twitter going all the way back as January, February. Freddie looked genuinely bad once 2020 hit. And I
We were
think
talking
that was
about it after the playing round too.
yeah, but the thing is during the play-in round, he looked good.
He
Games
just
one and
didn't.
two, he
It's just he
like
didn't
game
look like the best, the better goalie.
I think, to be completely honest with you, game one and two, he was the better goalie. Personally, I think he had more high danger saves in game one than in game two. Game two, obviously the shutout that worked. Game 3, he got I don't even know how to go about game 3 because Corpusalo got pulled. Game 4, he just somehow won that game, and then game 5, he kind of laid an egg. I think it's one of those things where in big moments, and like this isn't even just talking about him when he was a Leaf. I remember when he was with the Ducks in like 2014, 2015. He really struggled. I remember, I think it was the Western Conference Final, if I remember correctly, in 2015, where they were playing against the Ducks. No, it was
Oh, he was on the Ducks.
It was the semifinal. He was playing against the Kings, and he got completely lit up in that game 7. If I remember correctly, they went to 7. I have to look that up. I'll look that
He's
up.
just
Probably.
always like struggled
And
in
then
the big
like
moments.
there was that, and then game 7 against the Blackhawks, he kind of really laid an egg, which everyone kind of assumed that was like just Bruce Boudreau and him normally choking away game 7s, which is valid, very, very valid. You're gonna make me yawn too. Thanks a lot, buddy.
I'm sorry. I told you for whatever reason how recently I just had a coffee, but like every time I have
See,
coffee now, it makes me feel more tired.
first of all, you gotta have espresso.
It
Number
was an
2,
espresso, whatever.
okay. Anyway, number 2, you gave me shit for being tired last time, and now look, the tables have turned. But anyway, back to my point. Like it just looks like big time games. I don't think he's that goalie that wins. Like he's not like Carey Price or a Henrik Lundqvist. And like I hate talking about Carey Price because I still think that he's 6 years too late, or 6-7 years too late, when he's no longer the best goalie in the world, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like Henrik Lundqvist, obviously he aged and like he probably won't play hockey again, which really
It's
sucks because he was probably one of my non-favorite Leafs. Or
favorite
my favorite
non-Leafs.
non-Leafs. English is hard, guys. This is from a college student. Anyway, also another reason why I don't like me clean shaven, my eyebrows look a lot more animated. Um, but anyway, like going back to my point with Freddie, it's just like he didn't have a good start, and when you're in a contract year, people are gonna look at that and they're gonna really hammer it at you when you're in the negotiation table. Um, I know apparently he has had minor talks with Dubas, but I think that's just like, yo, you want to stay? Yeah, okay, we'll talk later. Those aren't anything like concrete, I think. Um, I was thinking about this, and I wanted to hear if your take was on this. If Campbell stays in Seattle, like he doesn't get claimed in the expansion draft, um, most likely would be Engvall, I think, right now. But if uh, Campbell stays, would you feel confident him getting the crease most games, or would you
Sorry,
want maybe
so
like a 1B, 1A, 1B type scenario with him?
so your answer is on Saturday night you were feeling nervous or worried about the
Yeah.
goaltending situation.
Um,
Okay,
and
so
it was also like, because like I saw this in Washington, and like I think I
mhm,
mentioned it to you. I think I mentioned it to you or in the group chat that we were in. Like this is what happened in Washington in 2018. Like, and I don't want to say it's exact because the Leafs haven't gone and won the Stanley Cup yet. But like Holtby was struggling all season. I think he only had like a 9-10, and like Grubauer had like a 9-18, 9-20, and
mhm,
like Barry Trotz, who is one of probably, I think Barry Trotz is probably my favorite coach in the league because he's showing how strong of a coach he is and how adaptable he is, and it really makes you wonder how brutal those losses made him change his philosophies and make him more defensive oriented. But anyway, that's beside the point. But like Trotz said, okay, I'm gonna start Grubauer over Holtby, and then they went down 0-2 in the hole, and then they're like, okay, I'm going back to my starter, and then Holtby made them win 4 straight, and then they went all the way to the cup. That's what I thought was gonna happen here. I didn't think it was gonna happen so soon. I thought,
any,
okay, I thought, to be honest with
so what
you,
was hold on, sorry, what was your question before that you wanted me
so
to answer and then we drifted off?
So my question that I asked was, after Campbell's performance on Saturday night, wanted to ride that wave a little bit and then maybe give Freddie a little bit more rest.
Not this early in the season. Maybe if it was later in the season is when you start to ride the hot hand, but this early in the season, you want to try to get your starter going.
Yeah, and I
And
think
you,
it's
you
one of
gave
those
him
things.
you gave him a few days off to get his head right, if that's what it was. And then he bounced back and
Well,
he looked good against Winnipeg. So
here's what I think. Well, I mean, like, okay, obviously the Leafs have more goaltending depth than the Oilers did, but they had the fortunate idea of, okay, we have Campbell. We addressed this last year, and Dubas, I think, did it better than if you were to sign a guy on free agency now,
mm,
just because like so many guys are hesitant about playing and this that whatever. Um, but now he can lean on Campbell. They had Dell until 24 hours ago, a little more than 24 hours ago now. Um, so like realistically, if Robertson did not get hurt, they were fine because they would have just rolled with. If Freddie maybe was like battling something like injury wise, they could have put Dell in the game if they needed to. Which side note, I missed those pads. Did you see the pads that Dell had when he was in the scrimmage? Those were nice pads.
notice.
I wish he wore them in New Jersey. It reminded me of like I think like Ilya Brizgalov when he was waived from Minnesota. He ended
Mm.
up going back to the Ducks, and it was like a couple games before he played the Leafs, and the Leafs chased ironically Frederick Anderson, and Brizgalov won in the game, and he still had his like Minnesota Wild pads on with like the Ducks mask, and I'm just like, this looks so weird.
Yeah.
But I was kind of hoping that the Rangers would do that as well, but I mean, who knows? Um, but yeah, like going back to like the way that the Leafs are, like realistically, their schedule over the next couple games, it's going to be really interesting.
Well, they play McDavid twice, and then they play
Okay,
Calgary.
they play McDavid twice, Gaudreau and Markstrom and Monahan twice, and then McDavid twice again, but this time in Edmonton, which is hilarious to me. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'd be very scared about Wednesday's game, because I feel like they're gonna get a really pissed off McDavid and Draisaitl. Because like they hear like when they
They were not good against Montreal last night.
yeah, and another thing, it's almost like when they get like criticized, they come out of the gate like fiery.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had a stinker against the Flames, I think, in the first game. No, they lost a close game to the Canucks. Then they came back the next game, and McDavid's like, "Oh, I'm gonna score a hat trick pretty easily." And then they've only scored one goal within the last two games against Montreal, while allowing a total of 8 goals. So it's going great. And they are literally riding a goaltending tandem of Mikko Koskinen, who has an 897, better than Freddie's, I think, actually. I think he actually has a better save percentage than Freddie does.
Oh,
I think
really?
Freddie, right now at least, that can obviously change. That's not loading. I hate how, for all these other things on Sportsnet, I don't want to rip on Sportsnet, but like, there's no like setting to look at the teams anymore. I have to go to the standings and do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why does hockey have to be most difficult? Freddie's save percentage is 881. So, and also, okay, Koskinen has a better save percentage than both Leaf goaltenders right now.
Well, yeah, but it is a small sample size too.
And also that blue line. Remember when Oilers fans were saying they weren't going to get tired of Tyson Berry
Oh,
4 games in?
they already are. But anyways, let's try to keep things on the Leafs here. I don't really care about the Oilers. Um,
I guess. I mean,
um,
it's fun to rip on them.
um, yeah. One thing that kind of annoyed me so far about the Leafs is the game against Ottawa on the Friday night is when they did that thing that's like so familiar with this team is they'll play like a really good game and then have 5 minutes that are just like absolute fire drill and they have
That
no idea what's going on. And then that 5 minutes, they allow like 3 goals and then the game's over.
that's kind of like what happened last night. Um, because their second period was probably one of the best dominant periods I've ever seen them play,
I
which
don't
is
think so
crazy.
because I just think like score effects is a thing, right? So it's just like
But like when
one
you're out
team
shooting
being
your
desperate.
but when you're out shooting your opponent 19-1 and you're up 1-0 already on the team, and then they score the 2-1 goal or 2-0 goal, excuse me, that's pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're also playing like if they were playing another team that wasn't the Jets and there wasn't Hellebuck in that, I think that the score would have been like 3-4 nothing at that point.
Oh, for sure. I think not having line A in the lineup really hurt them, just because like a line A is usually a leaf killer.
Mm. Yeah,
Um, it's usually line A and Shifley, I feel like,
yeah.
with an emerging Kyle Connor waiting in the wings. But yeah, like if you shut down one of them, then you're fine. And the thing is that the Leafs have now 3 centers, and also like actually in reality like 5 centers if you count Spezza and
Thornton.
or four, yeah, or four. I think yeah, it's four. Yeah, four. Well,
Hmm.
I'm stupid. No, no, five because Thornton counts. He's
Yeah,
on the wing. Um, but yeah, like you have guys that can shut down players like that, and if it's only one, that's not it's not that much of a threat. And there's no, and also the penalties were well in favor of the Leafs last night.
hmm.
Do we want to touch into the end of the game last night? The shenanigans that everyone was shitting on Marner for, yet I don't know why.
Yeah. What are people saying? Like, what are they shitting on Marner for? Some guy just tried to end his season, and what he's supposed
Yeah,
to like? Oh, what's he supposed to do? Take him out to dinner after? Be like, oh, thanks for trying to. Well, I mean, all the restaurants are closed, but whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's just
exactly.
like,
Well, I mean, hey, they're closed in Canada.
so
Well,
it's like,
At least
so
Ontario. I don't know about Manitoba. I know they
like
are.
what do you want him to do? Be like, oh, hey, thanks for trying to end my season over there. Let's go grab a bite to eat.
And like, I just feel like people always give this team shit for not sticking up for themselves. And Marner absolutely stuck up for himself because he's like, he went up to him and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I think Neil Pionk secretly played for the Boston Bruins, or his hero was Zdeno Chara, because they are not Zdeno Chara, Brad Marchand, and he just evaporated into the crowd.
Yeah, that everybody on the ice was in the scuffle, and then
And
Pionk
then he
was
just
nowhere to be
backed off.
found.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's I'll call it what it is, Bush League, because it's
Hmm.
stupid. You don't do that,
Especially at that
especially.
point in the game too. Like it's one thing to like finish your hits and like send a message like, oh, we're not gonna go down easy, but he took like what 7, 8, 9 strides towards Marner and stuck his leg out and was looked like what he was aiming high.
Yeah, like he was aiming high. He was trying to blindside him. He was going for the head, if I remember correctly, if I looked at the clip again. Like it was all in all an unnecessary hit. It's blatant interference.
Hmm.
What are you trying to prove within the last 30 seconds? And like you just know that Paul Maurice just shoot his ear off probably in the locker room after the game just because
Because
Paul
now there's a
Maurice.
target on his back next time they play, and then
Oh yeah, Wayne Simmons is gonna kill him.
mhm.
Which is funny because we were talking about like what's Wayne Simmons gonna do. Like I thought he was gonna be like kind of like the way that he was in Philly, where he was just like banging crash, tipping in goals, garbage goals, rebounds. Nope, straight up fisticuffs.
I mean, he's
Every
not he's not just like a. It's not like this is like the Colton Orr days or anything though, and he's
oh,
just
he's
a
not.
pair of fists and nothing else.
I think the only thing that's wrong with
He'll bang
Simmons,
in. He'll bang in a few power play goals in the bumper
I
spot
think
there.
I think he'll get at least like at the minimum he'll get like 7 or 8, which is what he got last year in a full 82 games.
Mhm.
Um, I think he gets at least like a few. And like the thing is like the only thing that really sucks about Simmons, and we talk about it with Spezza and Thornton, not the best skater, kind of sluggish.
But you know what you're getting.
Yeah, you're
It's like
getting
you knew that
sandpaper.
already.
Yeah, you're getting a little bit of you're getting a better Kyle Clifford, and you didn't have to pay that much to get him.
Yeah, you're getting a better and cheaper Kyle Clifford.
Yeah,
Even though
like
Kyle
it's
Clifford has a goal this year. Ooh,
and Wayne Simmons is not, which
I
is
mean,
really really funny in hindsight. And also just to talk on former Leafs, which is pretty funny. Kasperi Kapanen is playing the game right now. Okay,
yeah,
no, he has an
it's
assist,
his season debut.
Hey, he's already a point per game. He has an assist.
Hmm.
Um, so just to kind of wrap it up, like we kind of okay. Do you want to talk
Anyways,
about? You want to talk about?
I just want to ask you this before we move on.
Okay, yeah.
How
Well, we
fun?
have one more thing that dropped, but we'll get to it in a minute. Yeah, how
How
fun was?
how fun is this season gonna be knowing that you're playing all these teams like 9, 10 times a year, or eight,
Dude,
9 times, whatever, however many times it is.
you have no idea how much it sucks having the Canadian division without fans, man. Like, dude, the fact that we were robbed of the
The
Battle
fact
of
that there's
Alberta.
already like there Montreal and the Leafs was already pretty chippy. I think there was some moments too where it's chippy against Ottawa, Winnipeg. That shit happened at the end, and you know that there's that it's just gonna it's gonna
It's
they're
gonna
gonna take
spiral.
yeah it's gonna spiral. That's gonna
And then
be
like the same thing went with like the Canucks and Flames last night. Like they just completely brawled with
mhm.
one another. Calgary
There
and
hasn't been
Edmonton
a battle
at
with
times,
Alberta yet.
dude. That's crazy. It kind of reminds me like how many penalties you can get in a game like back in the 70s where it was like everybody got misconducts.
Yeah.
It was weird because I was in one of my classes today. We were doing like a little bit of sport trivia to kind of like ease our way back into the semester, and our prof had a question up that was like, what's the record for red cards in a soccer
Hmm.
game? So there was like 12, like 20. So I picked like the 12 option. Apparently, the most red cards in a soccer match, this is completely random, but it's really insane. 36 red cards. Apparently, there was a big fight in like I think it was like the 40s or 50s. And I'm just like,
This can
dude,
only be 22 players on a field at a time.
well, I mean, like,
If even if they all used the three subs, that's
well, keep in
another
mind
six. So that's
it could have been a brawl that was like spiraling throughout the game. Keep in mind,
mhm.
that's what I was thinking, which is really,
Do they even have that many players on a team, like on their active rosters?
I don't think they can. Like, it's really,
Hmm.
I read that and I was like, no way, it can't be
They're
that, and then
playing
it
what
was
they're playing 2-on-1 after, like 2-on-2 after all the red cards
probably
are given.
just the goalies going back and forth, 1v1
Hmm.
on an open net. Um, but we were originally, when we were planning this show, to go off of the Leafs to talk about the Raptors, but something else decided to come to our attention. Which I don't know if you read the whole article, right? Or did you just read what people put screenshots up of?
No, I read it all, but I just
So
there's only really two parts of it I want to focus on.
yeah, we're gonna touch on them quickly just because like uh it's still really foggy to me about what to like believe. So Mike Babcock had his first interview post firing, I guess because he was gonna go on NBC and be an analyst, so they figured let's get all these cobwebs out of the way.
Well, I have
So
a theory about that. I think this was his way of wanting to clear the air before being on TV and
oh,
like
for
being
sure.
in the spotlight. He wanted to do it, and I have a feeling he's the one that reached out to. This is just like me just theorizing in my head, so don't take my word for it. But I just think this is
Yeah,
like he reached out to Pierre LeBrun to get this done, just so he can clear the air in himself and kind of just get a fresh start on NBC Sports.
yeah, and like going on about how like this kind of spinballed. Um, Basically, the two things that were brought up. I don't want to spoil anything. If people that have the athletic subscription, you can go read it. If you don't have an athletic subscription, even if you don't like the hockey side, the basketball and the football side and the baseball side is really, really good. Hockey's okay, but
They
there's
it's basically if you don't have it, I personally recommend it. It's like they go a lot more in depth than like the traditional media outlets would.
exactly. Um, And so basically, just to kind of summarize it, basically the two main focal points that were brought up, besides like the obvious, like will you ever coach again? You know, what's one thing you want to do? How you've been doing during the pandemic? All stuff like that. Two situations that were brought up were the Mitch Marner list incident, which for those of you who don't know, I don't think we talked about it on the show because it dropped really. It dropped before we started our thing in
Few
February.
months before.
Yeah, so basically, Mike Babcock gave Mitch Marner a list of players that he wanted to rank their work ethic from top to bottom. Uh, I don't want to go into detail about the article. If anything, we could probably tweet it out or retweet it on the account. You guys can find it if you want. Um, but basically, he was saying like it was over dramatized, basically, to be more than what it was. Um, but he understands now in hindsight that like it was kind of, not. It was kind of like one of those things where you kind of think it's a good idea on paper and then you execute it and it's like this is really really bad, especially when you're an 18-year-old kid and you're like a 54-year-old dude and you're trying to like work around that. um for that part of the interview, I don't know how you feel, but I think that one was a little more like he was a little he showed a little bit of remorse, at least what I was interpreting in that part only.
Well, the way
I don't
he
know.
said it was more like it was. Like, I don't know how to exactly explain, but it was more like he. It was like a lapse in judgment, and he did the right thing, and he knew, or he did the wrong thing. My bad, and like he knew that right away, and like felt sorry about it. But at the same time, this feels like a he said she said thing, and the truth is somewhere between that as to what actually happened.
Yeah, and like the stuff with Johan Franzen, which if anybody doesn't know, like Franzen
Well,
came out.
just to go back before we move on from the Mitch Marner one, he
Right.
said in it that, oh yeah, they had a great relationship, like Marner and Matthews and Babcock, and like I don't know how true that is, considering the fact that both Matthews and Marner had to draw happy faces on their gloves to remind themselves that hockey's fun and they should be happy doing what they're doing, and the fact that he had to go visit Matthews in Arizona, what was it, 2 off seasons in a row?
I think what it really is like it was a forced relationship. Like it was almost like they, not to get
Mm-hmm.
morbid or anything, but it's almost like your parents, like God forbid, like say they have a divorce and then the stepfather comes in and he's trying to like teach you all, or step parent comes in and kind of like tries to teach you all of their, this is how I do things and this is how things are
Mm-hmm.
done for me, and like you should do this and that instead of like what you really
Yeah.
like it's stuff like that. And like you look at the guy's resume and like I think he has like what 700 wins,
Mm-hmm.
Stanley Cup, bunch of gold medals, and like he basically said like in near the end of the interview he doesn't really want to coach again unless it's like the right fit. Which to be honest, like I look at all the teams and like there's not really a fit anymore unless he like unless Mike Sullivan somehow manages to get fired and he like wants to go to Pittsburgh, which like sure, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I feel like if he would, I feel like if he did end up going to Pittsburgh, though, Malkin would want out. Like he would not want to play for him at all.
Yeah, Malkin's not afraid to say when he wants out.
Yeah.
Remember the story? It's me or Kessel.
Ah, well, which one's worse PR?
Mm-hmm.
Probably if you trade Malkin, and also would be harder to trade him because he makes more. But yeah, going to the Franz and stuff, and like we'll touch on this briefly, just because like it's kind of like Franzen to me, like I don't know if you were really like following his career like in the early 2000s, dude. The guy was a truck, dude. Like he was such an underrated power forward in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then like obviously like him having post concussion syndrome and having to retire because of that, that really sucks.
Babcock didn't seem as remorseful about that one though.
Yeah, that's what I
In
was
the
kind of
interview.
getting to. I feel like in all honesty, um, like Babcock went to Detroit in like what 07, I think, because he won the cup the following year in his second
Yeah.
year. I feel like it's one of those things where you're in a you're in a job for so long and the new people are coming in and they're sort of like trying to format the team the way that they want it to, and obviously it's not working to the way that they like. To me it's like, this is going to sound really crazy, but I feel like the Red Wings of the 2000 like 2008 and beyond, up until when Ken Holland left about a year or two ago, I feel like it was just a giant boys club. Like the guys just like the instead of the inmates running the asylum, it was just like the front office is going to do what they want and you have no say in it whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like,
The other
Ken Hall,
extreme.
yeah, like Ken Holland going out and signing a bunch of old guys just to keep the streak alive, to try and keep money coming in because that's what it was. Uh, I think they used that money to build Little Caesars Arena, right?
I mean, they had to have.
Yeah, like that's literally what it was. It was just try and make as much money as possible before like the wheels fall off. And then like with Babcock, I think it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, I think in hockey especially, like it's the 5 year itch. Like, like in the relationship, the year relationship, there's like a 7 year itch. In hockey, there's like a 5 year expiry on coaches. Like Stan Bowman, like if
Unless
Stan
you're
Bowman
Paul
got
Maurice,
fired,
apparently.
not, I mean, yeah, like Paul Maurice was the coach. He's been the coach for the Jets for
10
like
years.
what? Has
See,
it been 10 years?
since they moved to Winnipeg, they've never had a different coach or a different GM.
I think because Winnipeg was just kind of like in the midst of a rebuild, they weren't really going to fire Paul Maurice once they brought him in. And they're really, I think this might be this last year. I don't want to say anything, but like it's one of those things where like, you don't know. But like going back to Babcock really quickly, and like we won't touch on this for that much longer because there's still some other stuff to go on about in the other two sports. But like it just seems like it's a guy who loves the spotlight, and like I don't want to like shit on the guy because like I don't know him. I don't know how sincere he
Yeah, I'm
is.
not gonna go and say
And
like
and this
he's a
wasn't,
terrible person just after reading this this article,
yeah,
just because like I don't know him, and like I said before, the truth is somewhere in the middle of what's being said on both sides,
yeah, and like
most likely.
what's unfortunate is you already know that unfortunately Franz is probably gonna find this article and he's gonna come out and say, no, actually, this is what I experienced.
Keep an eye out
It's
on those Swedish newspapers.
yeah, like and the thing is that your players like and the thing is that like every coach has their favorites, but like there's also like the ones that just don't click, like Zaitsev after I don't know if it was Zaitsev or Ozhiganov, one of the two. I just hated playing for him. I think it was both of them, to be honest. And
Probably.
I think it's just one of those things where like, and I don't want to be, I don't want to label him as prejudice or anything, but it feels like he really only clicked with like the North American players, mainly like the like Canadian players and like, and it's really funny because like he really rode like Datsuk and Zetterberg, but it feels like after he left, he was only like he wanted. There were only like these guys. These are the guys I'm gonna ride with. Like I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, like you said, like kind of like to rehash what you said. This is gonna be something that's gonna be revisited. I think in a couple years, maybe even sooner. Like I said, Franz is probably gonna have to respond now. And like I don't know. Like it's just it's a really weird article. Like I read it and I was like, I don't know how I'd feel after this.
Mm-hmm.
Because like they weren't hard questions. And also one thing that I noticed, and like this may be just me being petty, no mention of Kyle Dubas at all in the article. He
I
mentioned Luke.
doubt he was going to. Because if he
Yeah,
does want to coach again, he's not gonna shit on the GM on the way out.
but if he, yeah, I think that's what it is. I think he realizes that someone's gonna want to hire him. Like if the Capitals are looking to hire you, I think like it's definitely something that you would be interested in. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. It's just really, really strange. Um, but yeah, just to wrap it up, the Leaf season is like normal, basically. We shit on a player one night, and the next night we want to buy a mistake. So that makes sense.
So now that I don't know if it was really somber, but a not fun part of the show. Let's get to the fun part where we can talk about the Raptors getting 3 straight wins.
Yeah. Um, so I want to ask you a question about this. This is kind of a marketing ploy. Um, so I don't know if you remember way back in the year 2016, which by many people's accounts was the best year of everyone's lives. Um, so basically, um, a player by the name of Michael Saunders, who played for the Toronto Blue Jays, was labeled Captain Canada because he was playing really, really well and he was on Canada's team. So they
This
kind
was
of,
just before he tore his meniscus, no?
no, this was after he tore his meniscus, I
Was it
think.
after? I don't
Yeah, because
remember.
he tore his meniscus, I think, when he was with Seattle, and then he came to Toronto, had that really, really good season.
No, he tore his meniscus in Toronto.
Did he? I gotta look at that now.
Mm-hmm.
That really
Anyways,
sucks, dude.
it doesn't matter. It's kind of irrelevant.
Right, but anyway, so Anyway, so Saunders' nickname was Captain Canada,
Yeah.
and he had a really good year. Oh no, he tore his meniscus afterwards. When he was playing with the he tore his meniscus before. But anyway, besides the point. I know you said we're gonna get off it, but anyway, is Chris Boucher the new Captain Canada?
Um. Well, is if we can only call players who are currently playing in Canada Captain Canada that aren't hockey players, then yes.
Yeah, like
Because I don't think he's the best Canadian basketball player in the NBA, but he's damn
do you
good.
do you still think that it's Jamal Murray?
I think it's Shai Gilgeous Alexander.
Hmm, it's an interesting pick. Um, we're kind of going off of that. Like, dude, like for a while, I thought that Nick Nurse was trying to be a Mike Babcock, where he's like, I'm not gonna start Chris Boucher in like to start the game and make him a starter,
Mm-hmm.
making him like putting him in the second quarter and then just having him ride the second quarter going into the half and then having him play like the majority of the second half of the game feels so much better. And I think it's what he realizes is his strength. So he figures if it ain't broke, might as well keep doing that.
I mean, this season he's averaging just over 16 points a game, just over 1 assist and 7 rebounds. Like, and he's coming off the bench.
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's
sorry, I didn't even mention his blocks. 2.5 blocks a game is crazy.
and the thing that I think we were talking about like in the beginning of the Raptors season is like this team was really poor in the friggin' underneath the rim. They didn't rush it. Like in the paint, they were brutal. Like
Mm.
they were all shooters. Like Lowry was a shooter, Fred's a shooter, Norm's a shooter, OG for the most part is a shooter, even though he can kind of be a mixture of both. Same with Pascal.
Well, OG just needs to improve his offensive game, in my
Yeah,
opinion. But that's something that'll come.
yeah. Like I personally agree with that. But like the thing with Boucher is like, dude, the guy can do all three.
Dude,
Like the guy is
he's shooting like
three.
470 from three. That's crazy for a big man.
Yeah, exactly. And like the thing is like looking at the Raptors as a whole, their biggest struggle was their big men just weren't working. Like Baines looked good for like 2 games.
I don't even think Baines look good for 2 games. He's just I want him to work out so badly, but like I don't know why it's just not working.
Yeah. And also like personally in the off season, even when they got Baines, I thought they were gonna play Boucher more. I knew they were gonna play Boucher more. Just because like I saw him, like I'm not a basketball scout by any means, but I saw him playing in the G League with Raptors 905 near the end of I think it was near the end of 2018. Like this was the year that the Raps were like going for it, right?
2018-19.
Yeah, and like I was like, why is this guy not playing with the main roster? Like he was just like dunking and blocking like a friggin' madman. Like like, and he was also shooting really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what it is he's like kind of like the Raptors' best kept secret. And now
Well,
like he's
not really anymore, but
well, not anymore, but like last season
man, he can
really.
probably win Sixth Man of the Year and Most Improved Player of the Year with these
So
numbers.
so I want to ask you something, and like this is obviously like fictitious. Like ever since the like the last like to me, ever since the game against Sacramento, this team like woke up and
Even the
turned
game
it.
against Phoenix where they lost, they played really well in, but
Well, like they were down, like they just the wheels came off late and they just couldn't recover. Um,
mhm.
and then like I know this is kind of like woulda, shoulda, coulda, and like, but what about this? This team could have easily won 5 straight and could have been like in contention for a playoff spot right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like the games against Portland and Golden State, they could have gone either way. I'm still kind of bitter about the Golden State one just because that stupid
They
penalty at
lost
the end.
2 games by 1 point.
Exactly, and both of those shots that Siakam made should have gone in.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Golden State one, like we were one of our buddy Cole that we always rip basketball with and like have shoot the shit about it. he was saying like why Pascal did that, and I'm like, buddy, that was going in. Like 9 times out of 10, that would most likely
It
go
would
in.
hit every part of the rim.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the reverse Kawhi shot.
Anyway,
Um, and then like the same thing went with against Portland, and also like okay, like they squeaked out 2 games against Charlotte, but they were both really good games that like again like they had a hard time closing. The game last night against the Mavs was, in my opinion, the best game of their season. And like I know Dallas,
mm-hmm.
I mean like the whole state of Dallas, to be completely honest, is just completely riddled with COVID.
You mean the whole
But
state of
like
Texas?
yeah, yeah, whole state of Texas. Let's not. And like they completely shut down Luca. Like Luca wasn't shooting nearly as much as I thought he was going to. And also like they had Porzingis who was having a game. And like it was just like it was one of those things where like the Raptors were more complete, and also having Norm and Boucher off the bench, which are I think are going to be the guys that they lean on the most. And also Stanley Johnson playing 20 minutes because why not? Got to spice something up. Um, so I was talking to like again going back to our buddy Cole. We were talking about like players the Raptors were looking at, and one of the players was Andre Drummond from the Cavaliers, and the Raptors do need a big man. But I mean, like, what
I
do you
think
think would
he'll.
be?
I think that's too big of a name because I feel like just like name value alone, you're gonna have to give up someone useful. Like obviously, you're gonna have to give up someone useful to get someone useful. But if
Yeah, and
it's
like,
Norman Powell, I don't know if I like that. If
well,
their
like,
ask is Davis, and like a pick, I'd do that. But
here was the
if
trade.
Powell, at the end
Here
of the
was the
day,
trade.
if you got to trade Powell, I don't want Drummond just because like he can rebound fine, but like
Well,
not
like
really much else.
here's what I was thinking, and like this is obviously fictitious, but like, um, you look at that bench, and like I know like, uh, one of the names that like when we were having the conversation, like me and Cole, he threw out Malake Flynn, which
Malachi,
or Malachi Flynn,
mm,
which they're not giving up on him right away.
no,
There's no way. Um, to me, I think maybe a deal of Davis, Thomas, and some picks for a big man are kind of what's looming, because I don't know what it is, but I think Nurse doesn't really like playing Matt Thomas. Um,
yeah,
and like I feel like because like they won't trade PJ Watson, they already waived Alex Len, Pat McCaw's not on the roster. Um, I don't think they played Jalen Harris at all. They played him like a game maybe, but like he's still like kind of like he's still like a young guy, right? Like and like the
hmm
thing is like you look at the big men that are on the trade block, and like there really isn't many. Um, like who do you really go get?
Well, with the way that Boucher's playing, I don't know if you necessarily have to go out and overspend for
Well, that's
Drummond.
well. Here's what I'm kind of like wondering here, because like the Raptors' next few games are going to be interesting because they got a back-to-back against Miami. We're recording this on the 19th, so they got the 20th and the 22nd back-to-back against Miami. Then you go back-to-back against the Pacers, which is I don't know how to feel about that game, because even though they traded away Victor Oladipo, they're still
The Pacers
a
are a good
really
team.
yeah, they're still a really good team, even though the Raptors completely shat on them last season. But again, different seasons.
hmm
Then you got the Bucks right after that, and I know the Knicks can beat the Bucks, but like they still scare me because again, like now you have Giannis locked up. You got Chris Middleton, who's probably the low key second best player on the team, probably really first if you think about it to an extent. Um, and then you got Sacramento and Orlando. Like can the Raptors go to 500? I think they could end January at 500, maybe a game above.
Well, here's the thing: all their wins, other than one of their 5 wins, were against non-playoff teams last year. So to me, if they want to prove to me that they're going to turn this thing around, they got to start beating some of the good teams.
Yeah, and I think like I said last night, like with Dallas, like Dallas isn't like a lock for the playoffs, but they're at least a playoff team on paper because you have Porzingis, you have Doncic, you have all of these guys. Which again, when healthy, you got to take advantage of that. Um, and like the thing is like their February is very, very tough because
Mm.
like I said, they end January going into February playing Orlando. Then you got the Nets right after that, and that's gonna be at full strength, looking like with Kyrie, KD, and now James Harden. So that's gonna be brutal. Then you got the Hawks, who are at least better because of the way that they're put together, with Trey Young, and
They've been underachieving though.
yeah, that's true. But then like after the Hawks, you got like the Wizards, and then like they play the Bucks twice, they play the 76ers twice, they play Miami twice. Like I don't know how the season's gonna go. Like if anything, if they like play really, really hard but miss, I won't be too beat up about that. But then again, are they doing the extended playoff format of like they have?
They're having seeds 7, 8, 9, and 10 playing like a play-in like little tournament.
So like if they do what they did with the bubble, which I think is what they're looking at, especially once we get into like the spring summer of 2021. Except I don't think they'll do a bubble. They might allow fans at that point if it's considered safe to do so. But again, like we don't know what's going to happen between now. We don't even know what's going to happen between now and February, let alone now in the spring, summer at the end of the season, if it even gets to that point, because we've had some hiccups in the regular season. I feel like even if they get to like the play-in round, they're kind of like 50-50 with me. Like either they show up like the team that we saw against Dallas, or they're like the team against like Golden State, where like they're just there, but they're not like over. They're on the fence at that point. Like it's like they could go either way, to me. And also like waiving Alex Len, I don't really care, to be honest. It was either him or Baines, and he was cheaper, so they did that.
Yeah.
And I don't think, to be honest, he's really going to get claimed. But then again, what the hell do I know? Um, so going into the last, let's go 2 4. Going into the last 7 games of the season, and the Raptors are 5-8. Do they break 500?
And then within the next 7 games,
Yes.
to me, it
Which
all depends on how they play against Miami because that's a team that's a pretty good team. They're in the finals last year. If they can show me that they can beat that team, then but even then, I don't think they get to 500 because they're what? How many games under 500 right now? They're
they're five
even
and eight, so
five. Oh,
they're
they're
just
5 and 8. Yeah,
yeah, so they're like a little above 50% below 500, but like again, like you don't know what the hell's gonna happen between now. But then again,
I
who
don't think
knows?
they. It's all dependent on how they play against Miami. But as of right now, I'm just gonna say they got to show me a little more for me to say that there'd be 500.
I think Miami, even though they're underachieving this year, is the perfect opponent just because like they are very much kind of like similar teams. And then obviously like you have like the star power of like Jimmy Butler and like uh Adebayo is amazing. And then also getting friggin' Dragic back
Mm-hmm.
was pretty big. So like I don't know. And also you got like veterans like Iggy and all these other, and Robinson's great off the starting lineup. Like there's just a lot. But like also they've only played Jimmy Butler 6 games, so you also got to keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like again, like after I think after when we record next week, I feel like we're gonna have different takes on this for sure.
All right.
All
Wanna,
right, let's dive into baseball.
mhm. I'll let you take the
So
lead on this.
Jays did a thing, but I want to just kind of emphasize this. I know everyone's kind of like shitting on management because they didn't go out and get DJ LeMahieu. Would you pay a 32-year-old $15 million for, was it 5 years, 6 years?
6 years. My maximum was 4 years, and even that was pushing it for me for someone like LeMahieu.
Well, I don't know if you know if this is a thing, but Paul Beeston, who used to be the Jays executive president slash general manager, who won 2 World Series back to back, by the way, in case you
Mm-hmm.
forgot, he kind of had this thing where he never really went above 5 years for a player, especially in
Yeah.
free agency. And a lot of people look at that as like, oh, that's being lazy. You don't want to commit to free agents, like blah, 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 whatever. But in anything, does free agency really work in sports? I personally don't think so. Because, like, how many of the big free agents within the last, 2 to 3 years, with like the Harpers, the Coles, the Machados, who was another big free agent last year? I can't remember. You,
Um.
uh, like, there was Cole, there was,
Oh God, that feels like so long ago.
yeah, like, but,
Ryu.
well, Ryu doesn't
Yeah.
count because we signed him.
I know.
But,
I'm
like,
just.
yeah,
Mhm.
but, like, you look at guys like that, and you're like, how many of those guys won the World Series with their team in year one? It wasn't any of them.
Mhm. My
And,
thing, my thing with the Blue Jays right now is they have Ryu, who's now 32. No, he's 33.
he is, I'll tell you in 2 seconds. Hyunjin Ryu just turned. Yeah, he's going to be 34 by the start of the season. Actually,
Okay, so
well known fact, he shares a birthday with a new Blue Jay that they just signed, which we'll get to in a minute.
yeah, you have your best player right now who's 34 years old, and the fact that people think that the Blue Jays aren't going to do anything to try to capitalize on whatever years on the years that he has left and get someone to try to bring this team or people to try to get this team to the next level is just a dumb thing to think.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Like, this team underachieved, or not underachieved, this team overachieved with, like, basically one really solid pitcher, two technically with Walker, and like three mediocre ones. Like, Chase Anderson was mostly bad. Sorry. Tanner Rourke was not good. Trent Thornton got hurt. Um, like, Thomas Hatch, I think, was probably their second best starter to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, this is a guy who didn't pitch a major league game before. So I think what we're getting the idea from management is they don't want to go too much on the free agency front. They want to do more like how you're supposed to build. Like, they want to have a long-term window, not just like one hit wonder and then like you're back at the
Like the Blue
basement.
Jays of 15, 16.
Yeah, like, you don't want to do that, or you don't want to do like I call it kind of like the World Series hangover, where a team will win the World Series and then the next year they kind of just whimper. Because
Yeah.
no team has repeat. I don't think a team has repeat winning the World Series since, God, I don't even know. And I
Probably
know that
was the Yankees. No, not the Marlins. They skipped a year in between.
the Marlins was like between 3 years.
Yeah, when the Marlins accidentally won a second World Series.
Yeah. Um, and like, I think what it really comes down to is like the best teams are the ones that like do the smartest moves. They don't splurge. And like, I get
Mm-hmm.
into an argument with Luke, our other buddy that we do takes to the nosebleeds with all the time. The reason why the Yankees don't win because they panic spend.
They're just throwing money at their problems.
And what's really funny is they won only one World Series with Mark Teixeira and Alex Rodriguez,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't worth it
Yeah.
because they literally just underachieved every year after that. It's just like you get a taste of winning and that's it. And I think what it really comes down to is, and like over we kind of over dramatized it a little bit. I think with the Shapiro Atkins era, they saw, like, the reason why they didn't want to rebuild right away is because they saw what 2015 brought and they wanted to see what that magic was like while they were there a full season. And they saw it
Mm-hmm.
with basically the same season. So I think in reality, when you look at what's going on, they want to contend for like 4 or 5 years, which is the amount of control that you have the Bichettes, the Biggios, the
Yeah.
Guerreros, et cetera, right? Um, so we'll talk about the two new guys, and then I kind of have some takes about George Springer, which I'll save near the end. So the first guy that they signed was Tyler Chatwood. They signed him to a 1 year, $3 million deal. Chatwood's 31, or he just turned 31. Kind of struggled last year for the Cubs. He was kind of like an emergency, if in an emergency, break glass fifth starter for
Hmm.
them. Um, he, from what I've understood, he's going to be in the bullpen, which I won't go against at all, because he was in the bullpen last season for the Cubs, and he
Pretty
once
good
he made
numbers.
once he made the transition last year, he had a 3.76 ERA, which was really good compared to the 5.30 that he had this year.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's one of those things where like they really like Chatwood's stuff, and it's like and he really was good. Like he can hit like 97, 98 on the fastball. I think he's got like a high 80s changeup, if I remember correctly. I didn't like doing I didn't really do like an in depth on him, but like it's pretty good. Um, in terms of like what he has to offer. Um, and also like okay, I think the one thing that kind of worries me and like the kind of transitions into the other guy that they signed is like the changing of leagues, because
Yeah.
like you can do good
It's
in
a
the
it,
NL.
it, it is a difference.
Yeah, because like the NL is more like uh pitchers tend to throw more heat, I think, in the National League,
Hmm.
whereas in the AL people more focus on like stuff and whatnot. But I don't really know. It's hard to differentiate the two.
Yeah.
Um, but like the thing is like if you were to tell me on paper who would you rather have, Tyler Chatwood or Tanner Rourke, I would take Tyler Chatwood. Younger, probably got better stuff. Rourke, I know he's an
Hmm.
innings eater, but like I think his tenure may come to an end, whether it's at the start of the season or maybe midway through. Um, and also like another one of those things, like one of my buddies was getting into an Instagram war with somebody in the comments of the signing, and he was just like, bro, you don't understand like how this works. Like it's not like you're paying like $3 million in baseball is peanuts.
Oh yeah. You're making that into your what a backup middle infielder or something, fourth
It's the
outfielder.
it's the equivalent of what you would be paid as a third or fourth liner in the NHL or a bench player in
Oh,
the NBA.
probably a third liner. No,
Yeah,
no. NBA players are bench players in the NBA are making more than 3 million.
true. I'm just thinking of Alex Len because he made like I think like what two.
Well, that's different. That's like a prove. That was like a prove it deal.
True, true, very true. Um, but yeah, like again, like 3 million is not a lot of money. It's 1 year. Everyone's like, oh, and the thing is like I agree with this management with what they're doing. I hate signing relievers to long-term deals because you're stuck with that deal.
Yeah.
Because like we've seen it time and time again. Like I remember Edwin Diaz, like I wanted with the Jays for so long, but like you know he was traded to the Mets and then he sucked. And this year he was better. He wasn't the closer, but he was better. But like that's kind of the thing where it's like you can have a reliever go good 1 year and then the next year he just like completely shits. Um, the other example that I kind of think of is Dylan Betances,
Oh God.
where he just completely 1 year is amazing and then the next year he just completely shit the bed this year with the Mets. Like giving and the thing is like with Liam Hendricks when he signed last like a week or 2 weeks ago, like do you really want to give a reliever like $18 million a year? Like I don't. Like I know like closers are going to determine that money, but like he was only really a closer for 1 year, and you want to give him that amount of money? Like
Mm.
I don't know, man. I
Yeah.
don't know, Chief.
Anyways,
Um,
let's get to the George Springer
wait, we
stuff.
forgot the other free agent, you goofball.
Oh,
Wow, you're disrespecting Kirby Yates' name, who shares the same birthday as Hyunjin Ryu, mind you. They're both going
nice
to be
tidbit.
34. They're both going to be 30. I just found that out. I looked up on Baseball Reference, and I was just like, oh shit, he's the same age as him. But the Jays signed Kirby Yates. We found it out really last night, but pen to paper is going to happen today. Um, Warn about this because you have Kirby Yates, who was the guy that led the whole major leagues in saves 2 years ago, and also actually finished ninth in the Cy Young voting.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Kirby Yates this year that like kind of sucked
Yeah.
in terms of like, you know, he wasn't as dominant as he
Well,
would
you're
have.
taking a gamble on someone, hoping that he's at least somewhere in the middle, right?
Well, I think the thing with Yates, to me, it's health, because
Mm-hmm.
he just had surgery to remove like bone spurs or bone chips in his elbow.
Yeah.
And if it's in your pitching elbow, that's a really evasive surgery. So I think like once the physical kind of proves that like
Well, he
everything's
passed the
okay,
physical, so already.
yeah. So I think the only thing with me is like his velocity might go down, which I don't think is the biggest problem. But apparently he had a 5.30 ERA against the American League, which really kind of gives me anxiety. But again, it's only 1 year, and I think they're only paying him like what 5.5.
Yeah, which baseball's nothing.
Exactly, right? Like you were paying Giles like 9
Mm-hmm.
last year, and Giles is an elite proven closer, which
Mm-hmm.
yes, Yates is too, but not in the American League. Giles, at least he transitioned to the American League and he fit well with the Jays and kind of turned into probably the best closer that we've had since. And
EJ
like,
Ryan, no.
no, wasn't who
No.
else was a closer? Brandon Morrow was a closer at one point, I think.
Osuna was.
We don't talk about him. Uh,
But honestly, he probably was the best closer since Osuna.
Probably, yeah. Like the Jays have gotten good luck with closers over the last
Mm-hmm.
couple of years. Um, and the thing with Yates is like I don't even think he could even be the closer. I think he could probably be the setup man. I see like Romano Dolis and
I really liked Romano last year in the
those
what
three.
what didn't really feel like a season for some reason. You think back at it, you're like, oh yeah, there was a baseball season.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how doofus and how stupid run baseball was.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like I have to remind myself every once in a while that oh yeah, the Blue Jays made the playoffs.
yeah, like I completely forgot that they had that 2 game series against the
Mm-hmm.
Rays. That should have been 3, but whatever. And another one of those things, like I'm going off, like again, like I feel like this team just wants to get veterans to tutor the young guys. Now
Yeah, for sure.
let me get to the Springer thing. So I thought until last night that Springer was going to be a Met for sure, like to the T. They're going to offer him more money, like whatever he wants. It's closer to Connecticut. He wants to stay within that area. And then last night hits with the
And
whole.
does he still want to be around controversy? Right? Is that the point you're getting at? How much controversy does he want to be around?
Yeah, and it's like one of those things where it's like your main point of contact was with the general manager because he's the one that negotiates your salary. It could, like the president has like minimal, like the president basically is there to help say this is what how much money we have.
Yeah, or it's like another like set of ears or another brain just to
Yeah, it's like the
bounce
president.
ideas off kind of thing.
It's basically the owner. Like I don't know if anybody
They probably
listening.
get the final say from what the GM says too.
Yeah, and it's kind of like I don't
I
know
feel
if like
like I feel like the president's the middleman between the owner and the GM, basically.
yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like the way that it was in Moneyball, even though like Billy
Yeah,
Bean was both the president and the general manager. Like you kind of see that connection there, right? And like to me, I think like that negotiation is gone because like
mm-hmm.
how do you reapproach that? It's saying okay, like we know that like we hired this guy and like we didn't know this, which first of all you should. I don't know
I mean
how.
that's something that doesn't really that no, you can do all the background checks in the world, and until someone comes out and says that, you're not going to find out about it. So
I think it's one of those things where you really need to do a deep dive of somebody's like personal history. Like you need to like, especially like with an old organization like the Cubs, you need to look at like, okay, who worked in the organization, and like it
well,
kind of just go,
this was like a foreign reporter.
like it's just one of those things where it's like
Mm-hmm.
it
All
feels
I'm
like
saying is I'm not excusing the actions. By the way, I'm just saying like I
oh
just don't
100
think
percent
the Mets knew about it.
it's really hard because it's like you don't know, but it's like you should have known, and it's like
Hmm.
really hard to differentiate it. It's almost like the Mets and the like I feel like the Mets and also like the White Sox this past year. It's almost like they woulda, shoulda, coulda. Like you didn't
Hmm.
know if Tommy Lasorda had a DUI.
Yeah.
Well, you should have known because like you would have background checked him and found him. It almost just goes to me like front offices and pro sports are not doing background checks. And another thing that kind of it comes off of is Bill Peters. And I know that you didn't know of these allegations with Keem Aliu and what came out and uh, Mikhail Jordan and all that, but like, dude, he wasn't even given an interview. Brad
Yeah.
Treliving basically looked at what he did at like I don't know if it was the Spangler Cup or the Helenka Gretzky Cup or like the World Juniors or not the World Juniors, the World Hockey Championships, and he's just like, I want that guy on
Yeah.
my team,
I
and it's
know a
just
lot
like,
of players did like him too. Like,
but like that's the thing, like you need to go in depth
hmm,
and be like you need to know, okay, does this guy work with do these two work together? You know, what's his coaching philosophy? Like, and it's almost just like, if anything, don't get into these like long-term deals. Like you need to like get more points to like before you deliberate on a decision. But going back
anyways,
to
let's get back to your point. Keep on drifting away.
the point that I'm making here is that I know Springer wants to stay close to home, but at the same time, like the dude's got to make the smartest decision for himself. And I
Hmm.
don't mean to say like, if anything, the two front runners, it's kind of like the South Park bit where you're
Hmm.
stuck between a douchebag and a turd sandwich.
Yeah.
Like this is what it is.
So I'm
You're
just
stuck.
watching I have the Capitals and Penguins game on, and I think Oshie's about to get suspended.
Oh Jesus, I don't want. I kind of want to flip it on now, but we're wrapping up anyway.
Yeah, he just
Um.
threw a hit to the head to
Oh.
Pedersen. But yeah,
But I mean, like, okay, kind of going off on a tangent. We saw the Gallagher hit. Is he really going to get suspended?
this
That
was
hit suspended,
blindside. This was blindsided.
but the Gallagher one was too. That could have
This
literally
one, this
like
one. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't see the Gallagher one, but
I don't really know what to think. Also, in the Devils game, Jack Hughes is having a game, dude. Jack Hughes is just literally willy nilly putting up 4 points in 2 periods. So
oh
I mean,
damn.
hey, you could have a really crappy rookie season and then come out the next season. Just to give a little bit of hindsight here, guess which future NHL Hall of Famer who was drafted in 1997 started his NHL career with just scoring 7 points in 55
Joe
games?
Thornton.
Joe Thornton. Exactly.
Hmm.
So there you go. You can have a tough rookie season and then just
So
like
Joe
bounce
Joe
back.
Thornton had a tough rookie season. Basically, we're getting at just Joe Thornton had a tough rookie season, and George Springer is going to be a Blue Jay.
Yes, more or less. Those both correlate.
Yes. It's like have you seen those videos now of those people getting two subjects or two things that are not related to each other at all and finding them in Wikipedia articles within like 30 seconds?
Oh God, yeah.
It's like we just did that. Joe Thornton to George Springer. But
You do realize that Joe Thornton's going to have batting practice with the Jays when the pandemic's over, right?
mhm.
Just like how Steven Stamkos did in
Yeah.
2015. But like, I don't know.
Anyways, we're pushing an hour and a half here, so
We are pushing an hour and a half. So the moral of the story, you either go someplace where they don't know where they're going to be playing in 2021, or you
mhm.
go someplace where you have basically money guaranteed, where you have to deal with an organization that has horrible PR. So if anything, he's going to be a Met because he's going where he's used to, right? He got paid to play he got paid to play in Houston,
Mhm.
and he's going to be with a team that has horrible PR and controversy issues. So yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's pretty much about it. I guess I'll plug the socials. Follow us on Twitter at Q_City Roundup and on Instagram on Queen City Roundup. Follow our individual Twitters at Matthew Spaniolo and Joey Conchi 98. That's really about it.
Mhm.
I'm saying too many times. I sound like a great professional. It's gonna go great on the resume. But yeah, really that's really all for right now. Hopefully by next week there is going to be more goalie controversy in the Leafs crease. Chris Boucher is going to be an unofficial All-Star because there's no All-Star game, and George Springer is going to be
Mhm.
a Met because the Jays can't have nice things.
Yep. Basically, you
Or they
nailed it on the
or they
head.
just or they just sign JT Realmuto because why not?
We're gonna end this call and we're gonna find out what's gonna what's happening with Springer. Guarantee it.
Oh God, I hope so. Break at like midnight, please.
Mm-hmm. All right.
But yeah, that's all for us. We'll
See
see
you.
you all next week. Hopefully, I have more of a beard by then.